Jesus' unconditional love for us is really amazing. One of the most popular records of Jesus Christ performing a great miracle is the feeding of the 5,000. This demonstrates his unconditional love towards us by providing for our basic needs as recorded in Matthew 14:13-21, which says, "When Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, 'This is a remote place, and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away, so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food.' Jesus replied, 'They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat.' 'We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish,' they answered. 'Bring them here to me,' he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children." The story of Jesus feeding the 5,000 is one of the most inspiring stories in the Bible, and it is often used to encourage brethren to believe in God's great power and mercy. What then does this miracle tell us about Jesus? 1. It reminds us of Jesus' love and compassion. Jesus' feeding of the 5,000 reminds us of Jesus' love and compassion for his people. His compassion is without bounds that even if he had traveled far, healed the sick, and did so many things, his priority was still the crowd that followed him, John 3:16. His most important issue is the welfare of his people and that we should so likewise. We have to develop unconditional love to our neighbors and support them too at the point that requires us most. The scenario of Jesus feeding 5,000 people supports the fact that Jesus is the Lord that saves his church. His compassion is so boundless that he gave his life for his children who are, by the way, sinners. 2. It tells us that Jesus uses other people to bless others. An example of this is when Jesus asked his disciples to find food and they found a boy who had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. In this very moment, Jesus decides to use the boy for his miracle and turn the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes into something the crowd would be enriched and fed. Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many? John 6-9. This scenario teaches us 2 things about Jesus' ways. First is that he uses others, his disciples, in this case, to be his hands in providing blessings to others. He asks them to find food, which they did by finding the boy. Jesus used the disciples and the boy to bless others. There are many times when we are asked by God to help others in need, and this is similar to the very scenario that happened during the feeding of the 5,000. When God asks us to be a blessing to others, we must have faith in to do even with just a simple amount or act. It can have a huge impact on so many lives. 3. It affirms us that Jesus is big enough for any expectation. This simply means that he surpasses our expectations. Jesus provides every need because of his unconditional love towards us. He merely commands that the food be fed and, as a result, the 5,000 people were fed. Scholars even believe that it could have been more than 5,000. This gives us peace as we are reassured that he does greatness. No matter any situation that seems difficult, Jesus is always big enough to overcome them. 4. It tells us that nothing we face here on earth is too big for God. There is no great obstacle that we cannot face because we have God. God is always larger than everything, especially our obstacles. That is why we should not be anxious. Let's be patient and trust in his unconditional love and power. Jesus' feeding of the 5,000 is a gentle reminder to our daily Christian lives that nothing we face here on earth is too big for God. Jesus is big enough for any of our expectations, and he uses other people to bless others, and ultimately, it shows Jesus' compassion for his people. Through this miracle, we are reassured of Jesus' love for us. Drop your miraculous comments today. Let's appreciate him for his unconditional love towards us. Remember to subscribe and like this video. Love you.